abolish the police, tear down statues of Lincoln, maybe give communism another shot, get rid of the border patrol, get rid of capitalism. White supremacy has never been worse. Gender is always just a social construct. It's okay to have penises in the women's swimming pool in women's prisons. Okay, no, it's not that I'm old. It's that your ideas are stupid.
Bill Maher is at it again, this time not on his own show. He's doing the tour, for his books. And we like Bill Maher the best when he goes into left-wing territory. We talked about him when he was on Gutfeld, and it was fine. It was good. But when he was on The View, and he was sort of pushing back on their insidious liberal chatter, he's brilliant. Because he talks their language, and he's one of them. So they have to be nice to him. They have to invite him on. And in some circles in this country, they even think Bill Maher is an intellectual, which brings us to the Aspen Ideas Festival. Yes, the Aspen Ideas Festival, where we go in the summer to beautiful Aspen, and we look at the blue skies and the beautiful vistas, and we talk about how our Marxist ideas are going to take over the planet, make everything sunny and wonderful, because we have ideas, and it's Aspen. So it's the Aspen Ideas Festival. So, of course, they invite Bill Maher there. And Bill Maher, having a bad hair day, as you can see here, Bill Maher starts to talk about the election and how the left is losing right now in this country. And make no mistake, Bill Maher is still a man of the left. He is still a Democrat. He still hates you for your conservative ideas, even though he'll pretend to have a conversation with you. He'll walk out and sort of give himself a Brillo pad shower because he still thinks you're odious for supporting Donald Trump or any Republican for that matter. This is who he is. That's fine. That's fine. Listen, at least he's honest about it. But where he's powerful and where we like to see him is when he stuns the intellectual left, the so-called intellectual left, at places like the Aspen Ideas Festival, by actually telling them why they're losing and how ridiculous they are and how wrong they are and what the American people actually think of where they've headed. Because as liberal, left-wing, progressive, whatever word you want to use, Bill Maher is, he's not insane. And he sees the far left right now in this country, which is slowly starting to become the mainstream left, and he sees them for how insane they are. So watch what happens when he told them that.
I mean, part of it, the left has to own. They are aggressively anti-common sense. The Democrats keep running on this one idea, saying to the American people, you can't possibly think you can do worse than Donald Trump. And they keep saying, yes, we can. Yeah. Yes, we can. And I understand that. I do. I would never vote for Donald Trump. And as I said, I think the Republicans are worse. But yeah, when it's funny, when I talk to, my friends around my age, 40, and they are always bitching to me about their kids who are like in their 20s, and they're like super uber woke, and they're driving their parents crazy. And everything is like, you don't get it, Mom. That's old thinking. And I'm like, don't get what? Abolish the police, tear down statues of Lincoln, maybe give communism another shot, get rid of the border patrol, get rid of capitalism. White supremacy has never been worse. Gender is always just a social construct. It's okay to have penises in the women's swimming pool in women's prisons. Okay, no, it's not that I'm old. It's that your ideas are stupid.
All right, this is a good time to pause. There's a little bit more of this, and we're going to watch it. But there's two very powerful moments that are happening here. The first is the liberal interviewer here. When confronted with the reality of what the political and cultural left in this country stand for, as personified by the Democratic Party and their policies and ideas, she's squirming. It's hard to hear all of that litanied out the way Bill Maher did and actually keep a straight face. Even she has to laugh at the ideas that the left now stands for as mainstream dogma. You don't agree with everything Bill Maher just laid out there, you're not welcome in your local Democratic Party caucus. All right. And so it's very powerful for him to lay it all out there, mocking them as he does it, and have people on the left who consider themselves so smart and so intellectual actually confront it specifically and recognize how outside normalcy they sit right now. Okay. That's number one. But number two, and I really do want to, God, it's so grudging because I don't like him. But I want to give Bill Maher credit here because they're going to talk about Trump in a second. Okay. And this whole conversation began, as you saw, where we started the clip about Trump, where the left is dumbfounded. They don't understand as they, go on their cable news shows and write in their newspapers that they own and control, and their late night comedy shows that they own and control, and their college campuses and, wherever they own and control messaging, pretty much anywhere except, programs like this and talk radio. They go there and they say that Donald Trump is the worst human being on the planet to ever even consider running for president, let alone get elected. And he wasn't really elected. He was just put there by Vladimir Putin. But he is evil. He is awful. And if he's in there again, our Constitution goes in the shredder. Our democracy is over. And we will never have another election because he'll be a dictator. They say all of these things. And many of them probably genuinely believe it. And as you saw at the beginning of this conversation, you hear all of that. And you say, I don't believe you. And you may think that he's the worst man, but guess what? Hillary Clinton is even worse. You may think he's the worst person ever to run for president, but guess what? We think Joe Biden is even worse. And they don't get that. They don't see it. But most of us look at it and say, yeah, okay, he's not perfect, but you know what's worse? What you've got to offer. But then even more importantly and most powerfully is what Bill Maher just did, because he reinforced why we are supporting Donald Trump for president, why you are supporting Donald Trump for president. He just reinforced it. And it's not about cult of personality, and it's not about his hair, and it's not about his television show, and it's not about his rallies, and it's not about the MAGA hat, and it's not about him dancing on stage. That's all fun political stuff. No, Bill Maher just told the left to their face something that they cannot comprehend or ever will acknowledge, and that is we are about ideas. We are about ideas that we believe in, and even more importantly, frankly, in this day and age, we are about being opposed to the Marxist, destructive, burn the country down ideas that they believe in. And this is, after all, the Aspen Ideas Festival. And it's pretty remarkable that their conversation, all they want to talk about is the man and the rhetoric and fascist this and fascist that and racist this and racist that. Those are labels. Those are words. Those are pejoratives. Those are insults. That's demonization, but it's not ideas. And everything that Bill Maher just listed there, those are the ideas that the left stands for. In fact, there were panel discussions on Aspen Ideas Festival before and after this conversation about defunding of police and about allowing people with male genitalia into women's spaces and all of the things that he just laid out there. Because those are their ideas and they're reprehensible and odious to most Americans. And that's really why we believe what we believe and why we support who we support. So I want to hand it to him for actually bringing it back to ideas. All right, now watch where it goes.
And
well, okay, so you're very cantankerous.
When people talk about Trump, that's what they should be talking about. Like, why do people, because a lot of conservatives say to me, what you don't get about Trump is we don't like him either.
Yeah, they just hate the other stuff more.
And I don't understand. I don't blame them because a lot of it is closer to their own home. Like the things you hate about Trump, democracy, I understand why that's the biggest issue. But a lot of people, it's kind of vague. Ukraine's very far away. But, the stuff about family and race and gender, it's very close to their own home.
Yeah, and yet you could argue that it's the octogenarians who are really causing most of the problems at the moment. I mean, you're quite sort of tough on the millennials, but they have to deal with all these octogenarians who refuse to leave the stage, who've left them bankrupt, who've taken all their social security. So there is a lot of angst there.
Actually, the older people this time are for Biden.
Yeah,
this is the first time in many, many elections where the older crowd, that's what with my editorial Friday night was talking about this, for the first time, they are lining up behind Biden more than the Republican. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean to the millennials or the Gen Zs, but when I see them with their Queers for Palestine banners,
I know that's the one that really gets to you.
I'm out. Okay.
again and again about ideas. And he is right generationally. Isn't it interesting that they only talk about boomers and millennials and Gen Z, and they forget us? Well, me. Maybe you're part of this too. Gen X, we're the ones who will save all of this. Give us a chance. Give us a chance. Trust us. We got this. All right. So that's a good example of a man of the left actually trying to step away from his ideological bubble. He's not leaving his bubble. He still believes what he believes, but to actually honestly evaluate what the left stands for right now and the reality of why they're losing, right? So that's one approach you can do when you're a left-wing Hollywood celebrity. The other approach is brought to you by Whoopi Goldberg and her pals over on The View. Because earlier this week, they were having a political conversation, as they often do. And when she said Donald Trump's name, well, watch what she did.
I think it would be remiss of us to not say Joe Biden knows how to do this.
Yes.
He knows how to do this. He's quite good at this. And you know, you can't refute anything with him because he just, when I say him, I
He
mean
rambles.
Trump.
Yeah.
He tends to just
But can I mention one thing?
Now, let's break down what just happened there. As you saw, because she never says it. She always says, you know who. She thinks she's so clever. They hate him so much they refuse to say his name. They're children. They're little petulant children, and they act like toddlers. But let's watch again real fast what happens when she actually is brought to the moment where she actually has to say the name Trump.
Trump.
Yeah.
He tends to just.
But can I mention one?
She spits. She spits. Now, it's interesting because they do this a lot. If you mention Joy Behar does this a lot. Now, Joy Behar is an 81-year-old Jewish woman, and when she says Trump, she'll do this thing that's. Have you ever seen that? She does that. This is, and I only know this because I'm a big fan of musical theater, and I love Fiddler on the Roof. You ever seen Fiddler on the Roof? See, in Fiddler on the Roof, it's this Yiddish thing. It's a Yiddish, Eastern European, Ashkenazi Jewish thing that's made its way to New York as well, and it actually becomes a thing that even non-Jews do in New York. Okay, I knew a lot of people in New York when I worked and lived there in the theater business and stuff who weren't Jewish, but they would pick up on these Yiddish things, like non-Jew. They'll say things like, "Oh, that's a fakakta thing to do," right? Or you know what? God, I'm gonna. Why do I need to schlep all those things over there? Why are you such a putz? See, these are all little Yiddisms that end up making their way into our vernacular when you work and live in New York. And in Fiddler on the Roof, if you look, whenever they say people's names who have died or people that they don't like, or it's like a curse, this is supposed to like keep evil spirits away. That's why Joy Behar does it. This thing. And I, if you're Jewish or Yiddish, I mean, I'm sorry if I'm mangling this, but this is my understanding of it, that it's supposed to ward off, evil spirits or what have you. And I think that that's what Whoopi Goldberg was sort of pretending to do because she sees Joy Behar do it all the time. But really what it came down to was her in one of the most disrespectful things. And is there anything more disrespectful than spitting on somebody or about somebody? And she did it not in this cute little Fiddler on the Roof Yiddish way. She did it in a disgusting, disrespectful Trump. Because he's not even worth my spit, is what she's saying. But here's, of course, what you really need to understand. She's not spitting on Donald Trump. She's spitting on you. Imagine being part of the ABC television network and the ABC News division of ABC network, a publicly held company owned by Disney, and you're the host of that show, and you mention the name of a political figure who is currently the leading candidate for president. If the election were held today, Donald Trump wins. According to Real Clear Politics, if you look at the battleground states, all of them, Michigan, Ohio, Nevada, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Arizona and Georgia, all of them go for Trump if the election's held today. He wins with over 310 electoral votes if the election is held today. And imagine hosting a show on ABC owned by Disney and saying that candidate's name and then spitting like you're spitting on every single viewer that is part of the majority in this country who want to vote for him. That's what you just saw. And she is an employee in good standing, and she's celebrated, in fact, by ABC, owned by Disney. And she'll show up again tomorrow and continue to do what she does. And we bring this to your attention because when you're a left-wing Hollywood funny guy who hosts a show, you can go the Bill Maher route, or you can go the Whoopi Goldberg route. It's two different choices. I'm not asking either of them to be conservative. They are who they are. They're going to do what they're going to do. But I know who I have more respect for at the end of the day.